Yes, welcome to our class. Welcome to our YouTube space. This is biology. So the other time we were doing reception, response, and coordination. So if you have not watched the first part of response, reception, and coordination, you should watch it so that you have the flow. This is the continuation of the topic. Reception, response, and coordination is topic 3 of book 4 biology, and let's continue with it. So today we want to start at coordination in plants. So in the previous class we talked about types of tropisms, and now today we want to explain how these tropisms they are able to come to pass. So we talked about phototropism, there was thigmotropism, there was hydrotropism, there was geotropism, and others as well. But here we only focus on 3 major tropisms. Okay, so there's a hormone called auxin. So the auxins, they really influence the tropism. So we want to focus on coordination in plants. So in coordination in plants, mainly tropism in plants is influenced by auxins. So there's something called the plant hormones, and one of the plant hormones is called auxins. There are others as well, as you can see here. We have the auxins, we have the cytokinins, we have the gibberellins. But tropisms, so tropism mainly they are influenced by auxins. So we want to see the influence of auxin in phototropism, in geotropism, and in thigmotropism, because in an exam they might ask you to explain. So let's start with phototropism, auxins and phototropism. So this is a shoot. A shoot is the upper part of a plant. So when there is light rays, it means that when there is uniform distribution of light rays, so here we have not induced the unidirectional light, so it means that this light is from everywhere. It is well distributed. So the light is well distributed, the auxins are spread also uniformly. So it means that it is giving us what? A uniform growth. So that's why there is normal or uniform elongation. So the shoot will expand or extend or elongate uniformly. But let's now focus on this second scenario. So in this second scenario, what has happened in this second scenario? So in this second scenario now, we are now inducing unidirectional light. When we say unidirectional light, it means that a source of light from one side. So we are not now using even this a light that is well distributed. No, now this is a source of light from one side, and of course it must be sunlight. Okay, because plants only respond to sunlight, not the torch, neither the bulb or something like that. So the sunlight. So this is unidirectional sunlight. So this sunlight is coming from one side. So it means that this other side there is darkness. It is dark on this other side because a shadow is cast on this other side. So there is darkness. Now, so auxins, they are normally in the shoot. So in the upper part of the plant, we normally have auxins. And these auxins, they are sensitive to light. So when they feel any light, they normally migrate away from light. They are very sensitive to light. So upon receiving the sunlight, they migrate to the other side. So what will happen is that the auxins, they will migrate. Remember, before the unidirectional light was induced or was put into this shoot, there was well distribution of auxins. There was uniform distribution of auxins. But upon inducing light from one side, so the auxins that are now on this other side, they are migrating to the dark side. So what happens is that auxins migrate to the dark side because they are sensitive to light. So after migrating to the dark side, there'll be high concentration of auxins on the darker side. And one thing I want you to understand is that high concentration of auxins in the shoot normally promotes faster growth rate. Auxins zikiwa mingi mahali, sana sana kwa shoot, the upper part of the plant, normally it promotes faster cell elongation, which will lead to faster growth rate. So it means that when these auxins, they migrate to one side, they will make the darker side, the part that is now on the darker side, to grow very fast. So if this other side, it is going to grow very fast, and now that they have migrated, there is now low concentration, there's lower concentration of auxins on this other side that is facing the light. So now the opposite is also true. So a place where there is high concentration of auxins, there will be faster growth rate. But also, if there is low concentration of auxins, there will be what? There will be slow growth rate. So it means that this side, the auxins have migrated to this other side. So this side that is now was facing the light, and now there is low concentration of auxins, it will grow slowly, while the darker side will grow very fast. So that's why it will bend in that sense, because try to imagine the athletic track. So when you want to cover a shorter distance, you normally use the inner lane. You normally run around the inner lane. But if you want to cover a very long distance, you normally use the outer lane. And I'm saying that the outer side, that is the part that has high concentration of auxins, it will grow very fast. So if it grows very fast, it will basically curve on the outer side, because if it is growing very fast, it will have a longer distance. So if it is going to cover a longer distance because it is growing very fast, it is going to curve outwards. So the one that is now growing very slowly, it will curve inwards. That's why eventually the shoot will curve towards the sunlight. So that is how phototropism works. Till now, this thing is able to bend and it now grow towards the sunlight. So that is the thing. So that is what you need to know about. And on the same statement that I've said, that high concentration of auxins, they promote faster growth rate in shoot, there's another thing that I want you to master, because we are going to talk about it. Now in the root, it is vice versa. In the root, high concentration of auxins normally hinders growth rate. Kwa shoot inafanya hapo igrow mbio mbio, yani auxins ikiwa mingi kwa shoot ni hiyo upande wa juu kwa mmea, so inafanya grow faster. Lakini ikiwa mingi kwa root, inafanyanga hapo ina grow pole, so iko tofauti. So in the root, high concentration of auxins will inhibit growth rate. But in the shoot, because this is the shoot, it is always the shoot that is growing towards the light. So high concentration of auxins promote faster growth rate in the shoot. So that is what is happening. Maybe you can read this one also to get more content on the same. So when unidirectional light, what do you mean by unidirectional light? A light source from one side. Because if you have not induced this source of light from one side, there's nothing that you're going to see. Because if there is uniform distribution of light, then there's also going to be uniform distribution of auxins, and there is going to be what? Uniform growth rate. But if you want to see phototropism at work, then you need to use the unidirectional light, source of light from one side. Then eventually you'll see that after some time, after some weeks, you're going to see that the plant is able to grow towards sunlight. So when unidirectional light is exposed or directed to the shoot bends towards a light source. This is because auxins are sensitive to light, so they migrate away from source. Darker side of the shoot will have high concentration of auxins, which leads to rapid elongation, hence faster growth rate than the lit side. Eventually shoot curves towards the light. So I believe you have understood, and in exam you can be told to explain that. We'll see an example of the same. So auxins and tropism. So the second one, let's talk about auxins and geotropism. Let's now talk about auxins and geotropism. So the second one, we're going to talk about geotropism. Now geotropism. Now here we are now talking about auxins and geotropism. First, we all know that geotropism is now the response in favor or maybe away from gravity. So, but it is basically influenced by gravity. Geotropism is influenced by gravity. Okay, good. So, shoots are negatively geotropic. There's a spelling mistake there. Shoots are negatively geotropic while roots are positively geotropic. Why are we saying so? We are saying that because the shoots, they normally grow upwards. So when you grow upwards, you are growing against gravity. Okay? So when you grow against gravity, remember we say that response, if response occur in a manner that it is in favor of the stimuli, then that is positive response. But if it is against the stimuli, then that is negative response. So when the shoot is growing upwards, they are growing against gravity, because if you are obeying gravity, you should grow towards the soil, towards the earth's surface. So when the shoot is growing upwards, it is growing against gravity. So that's why we say shoots are negatively geotropic, while roots are positively geotropic, because the roots, they grow towards gravity, they grow towards the soil, they grow towards the earth's surface, and gravity normally moves towards the earth's surface, towards the soil. So roots are positively geotropic. So how can we show that? We can show that by the use of this. So we can explain geotropism by something like this. So if you take a seedling and you put this seedling horizontally, we want to explain geotropism, the shoot and also the root. So this one is a seedling. So you place it horizontally, maybe even anywhere. So if you place a seedling horizontally, what do you expect after some time? What you expect after some time is very, very easy. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. So here is the thing. Here is the thing that I want you to see. Now, as usual, there are auxins on the lower side. There are auxins on the lower side. There are also auxins in the shoot. Because of gravity, they are going to migrate. Because of gravity is going to push the auxins to the lower side. So what will happen is this. So let me draw it at this point. Allow me just to draw it that way. So the upper part is the shoot. So what will happen? The auxins, what will happen here is very simple. The auxins will migrate onto the lower side. So let me show it this way. The gravity will push them to the lower side. Also on the shoot, they'll be pushed on the lower side. Okay, so the upper side, there are no auxins. So now, after the gravity has pushed auxins to the lower side, there is high concentration of auxins. There is high concentration of auxins on the lower side, as you can see. There's high concentration of auxins on the lower side. So, and in the root, what did I tell you? I told you that high concentration of auxins in the root inhibits or hinders growth rate. Auxins ikiwa mingi kwa root itakuwa ina grow pole pole. So huku ndiko na auxins mingi, huku chini kwa sababu gravity imesukuma hizi auxins na huku chini. Huku juu kuna auxins kidogo. Now huku chini, now that because we have high concentration of auxins on the lower side, there'll be slower growth rate. And now that there is less concentration of auxins on the upper side, and this one is in the root, it is the upper side that will be growing faster. It is the upper side that will be growing faster because that is the root. Then this side will be growing slowly. So now, by now, you know how it works. So the side that grows slowly will now be on the inward side. The side that is growing faster will be on the outer side. Okay, so that it can cover long distance, and it will eventually, you can see how it will work out. It will eventually bend downwards. So that's why the root is able to bend towards the soil. So that's how eventually you find your root. It is bending towards the soil. Then let's talk about the shoot. How comes that the shoot is able to grow upwards? Okay. Yes. So we want to see why the shoot is able to grow upwards. So the same logic. So the gravity will push the auxins on the lower side. So there will be high concentration of auxins on the lower side. But remember, this is the shoot. In shoot, high concentration of auxins promote faster growth rate. So what is going to happen in this one? What is going to happen here is very simple. So now on the lower side we have high concentration of auxins. It is this part that is going to grow faster. So this part is going to grow faster, while the upper side is going to have low concentration of auxins. This one is in the shoot. So this upper part will be growing slowly, while this lower side will be growing faster, because this one is in the shoot. It is the opposite of what has happened in the root. So the lower side will be growing faster, and if it grows faster, it will curve that manner, and the upper part, now that it is growing slowly, it will now ensure that it will curve upwards. So that's why the shoot is able to curve moving upwards. So we can now read the notes that I wrote here, so that for more explanation. Okay, so let's read the notes that I was able to write for you there. This can be clearly determined if a seedling is placed horizontally. Due to gravity, auxins migrate to the lower side of the growing stem and root. True. High auxin concentration on lower side of the shoot, we have started with the shoot, promotes faster growth rate on the lower side, causing the shoot to bend upwards. So we have explained how the shoot is able to bend upwards. Let's talk about the root. In the root, high concentration of auxins inhibit growth, but lower concentration promotes faster growth rate. Therefore, the root bends downwards. I believe that was very clear. The last one, let's talk about auxins and thigmotropism. Let's talk about auxins and thigmotropism. Remember, thigmotropism is also called haptotropism. Haptotropism. Thigmotropism is also called haptotropism. So haptotropism or thigmotropism is the response in favor of contact or touch. Okay, so when there's touch or contact, so it helps the plants with weak stems, for example the passion fruit, okay, to twine and climb the other plants for support, because they have very weak stems, the passion fruit and other plants that have weak stem. So they normally rely on other plants for support, for mechanical support, because they have weak stems. So they normally climb or twine around other plants. So for them to twine or climb other plants, there's the use of the tendrils. The tendrils are now vitu zingine yenye huwa zinaweza shikilia hivi. Unaonanga hizi zinaitanga tendrils. Ukiulizwa kwa mtihani, tendrils ni hizi vitu, ni kama tumkono zao huwa. Ushaona passion fruit, unapata that inakwanga na hizi tu vitu hivi, inajishikilia kwa branches nini. So they use, by the help of tendrils, they are able to also support themselves on other plants, the tendrils. Okay, so we want to explain how that is possible. Okay, it is very simple. We want to explain how that is possible. So normally what happens here is very simple, my people. So let me use this to explain. Okay, or let me use something different. So let's say this is the support. So this is the support, and let me have my plant. So this is the plant that inataka kuji twine. So auxins are sensitive to contact. Auxins are sensitive to contact or touch. So upon the contact or touch, upon the contact or touch. So auxins ikisikia tu kuna contact. So let's say this is the plant. Na hiyo nini iko hapa? Hiyo support. Support ndio iko hapa. Ndio support iko hapa kando. Auxins ikisikia tu hiyo contact, they are sensitive to contact. What happened? They migrate to the other side. They normally migrate away from contact. So auxins are sensitive to what? Auxins are sensitive to contact. So upon contact, they migrate away from contact. They migrate to the other side. Now, there's high concentration of auxins on the side away from contact. There's high concentration of auxins away from contact. So when there's high concentration of auxins, because the auxins are migrated because of this contact, after feeling this touch, so they migrate to the other side away from contact. So after they have migrated away from contact, and the tendrils or their stems, they just behave like the shoots. High concentration of auxins in these stems or in these tendrils, they are just the same as the shoots. So high concentration of auxins in the tendrils promote faster growth rate. So huku nje ndio itakuwa ina grow faster. Huku nje itakuwa ina grow faster. Na huku ndani molecular contact itakuwa ina grow polepole. So huku nje ikigrow faster, itakuwa inafanya hii kitu ikigrow faster itakuwa inajikunja around ile kitu. So because huku nje ikigrow faster na huko ndani ina grow polepole, because this side it will be growing slowly because there are less or low concentration of auxins. Now just like the shoot, tendril, low concentration of auxins now will lead to slow growth rate. So normally ina grow polepole itakuwa ina cover distance kidogo. Huku nje itakuwa na cover distance kubwa. So itafanya hii round around that object. So that's how thigmotropism is able to occur. So let's read what I was able to give here. When climbing stems or tendrils comes in contact with hard objects, they curve and coil on hard objects. Contact causes lateral migration of auxins to outer side of the stem due to their high concentration promotes faster growth rate than the part in contact with the object. Hence, the shoot continues to coil around the hard object. So that's how simple it is. So what you need to understand is that high concentration of auxin on side away from contact surface promotes faster growth of this side, causing tendril to curl around the object. So that is what you need to master. So it's very simple. So something like this is exhibiting thigmotropism. So let's see a sample of some question. Do I have this question? I guess I do. I guess I do have these questions. Let's see if we can get a question on the topic. Yes. So the sample question on what I've just done. The figure below shows a stem of a plant growing around a tree trunk. What is the name of the response which causes the twisted growth? So nini nafanya ikitu itwine. So the response is thigmotropism, and thigmotropism is not enough because it has obeyed the touch, it has obeyed the contact. The best answer is positive because ime obey kujikunja. So the answer there is positive thigmotropism. Positive thigmotropism. Thigmotropism. That is your answer. Explain how the twisting process is accomplished. 2 marks. They want you to explain thigmotropism. So that is very simple. So we are going to say that auxins are sensitive to touch or contact. So upon contact, auxins move away from the contact. High concentration of auxins away from the contact promotes faster growth rate, which ensures the stem is able to curl round the object. You get your 2 free marks. The last part of that question, identify the state of leaves if the plant is autotrophic. If the plant is autotrophic. So autotrophic, what is autotrophism? Autotrophism is the process whereby some plants are able to manufacture their own food. So when some plants are able to manufacture their own food, that is autotropism. So, and for you to be able to manufacture your own food, you need to have chlorophyll. You need to be green in color. The plant need to be green in color because chlorophyll is the green coloring matter. So identify the state of leaf if the plant is autotrophic. So the plants that manufacture their own food through a process called photosynthesis, they are green in color. They should have the chlorophyll, green coloring matter. Okay, so identify the state of leaves if the plant is autotrophic. So they are green in color and have chlorophyll. So that should be the answer. They should be green in color and have chlorophyll, or they should have chlorophyll. Okay, yes. So when there's chlorophyll, the plant can basically be autotrophic because itajitengenezea chakula yake, chlorophyll. So have chlorophyll or be green in color. So that is the answer for that Roman. That is how you write chlorophyll. Roman 3. Let's see if there's another question related to let's see if there's a question related to what we've just done. No, there's only that single question. But what if maybe there was this one, and now that we're told that is where the sunlight was coming from. So we're told that this plant was able to grow towards sunlight after some time. So the type of response in this scenario would be what? The type of response in this scenario would be positive phototropism. We don't just say phototropism because there's negative phototropism and there's positive phototropism. So if it grows towards the stimuli, you must add that positive. If it works in favor of the stimuli, you need to add that. So you must add that so that we have positive phototropism, and you write the spelling very well. So then what if you are told to explain? So you say that auxins are sensitive to light. Okay, so when light is directed to the auxins, they migrate to the darker side. Then high concentration of auxins on the darker side promotes faster growth rate, which will make the shoot to bend towards the light. So that is what you need to know. So for the geotropism we had explained, and now with that we are good to go. So that is the end of our class. So in the next class we'll start on the brain. We'll talk about the neuron and the brain. Thank you so much.